Believe it or not, our 8-year podcast anniversary is just around the corner. Is that exciting?
Right around the corner.
Yeah. On episode 400, we will be celebrating once again by inviting you, our beloved community, to call in and to pitch a game for us to play, kicking off our 9th year as a podcast.
Let me ask listeners a question. What other podcast does that?
Yeah. What other podcast actually cares about you?
Who's going to bring you on
podcast
to talk about your
gives
crappy
away
game?
millions of dollars?
Not us.
Wait, did we cancel that plan?
Yeah, that's scrapped.
Oh, okay. Maybe next year if we have the funds.
There are a couple of differences to this year's anniversary episode. Two things: theme and limited slots. That's right. We are having a specific theme for our game. So you have to submit a game in this particular theme. And secondly, there are limited slots. We are going to have a cutoff, or everyone would be here all day and no one's going to listen to that whole thing.
Yeah, we don't need to accidentally have a celebration, however worthy of celebrating it is, that takes 4 hours of time or something crazy. So, limits.
And for past episodes like this, people show up. So you're going to want to secure a spot for sure.
And you're going to do that by going to our Discord on Wednesday of the week of this episode's release at 9 a.m. Central. Okay, so that is going to be Wednesday, October 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning, Central Time. And you'll be able to sign up for a slot for a call on Sunday, October 15th. That evening. I know that's a lot of information. You can get all of those details by going to our Discord. All of that information is in the show notes. Welcome to New Game Plus. This is a retro gaming podcast where 3 guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name is Kenny.
I'm Nolan.
And this is episode 397, a very special director's episode. But before we get there, question of the week: what game have you put the most hours into?
The real answer, or I have a good guess, but I don't have proof.
I want whatever the Lord has laid on your heart.
Okay, so what the Lord has laid on my heart. The answer is, it has to be League of Legends.
Wow, you
Definitely.
are probably
Think
right.
about it. How each game's 45 minutes plus, 30 minutes plus these days, I suppose. Played it for a good decade. I mean,
consistently?
Almost. No, but for the first few, Kenny's thinking because he thinks he's changing his answer as he hears me talking. The first 5 years I played that game, nonstop, all of us.
For 5, yeah. I mean, I played a lot. I hope that's not my answer.
It might not be your answer. I don't think it is because Kenny and I played well after. But
right.
Yeah, I was too scared to go check my literal hours in the game because you can, and I just didn't.
Kenny, do you have an answer other than LOL?
I don't think that's the answer. The answer is probably either StarCraft or Diablo 2, but I'm not certain. It could be some other games too. The problem is there's no one place that tracks it all.
Right.
If you look at my Steam, sort of more recent games most played list, Civ is going to be up there. Hades, Slay the Spire, all are going to be crazy high amounts of hours. But I don't know objectively over the course of my life what the answer is. Probably StarCraft.
I am now starting to wonder if Halo 2 is mine because I can't.
Yeah, there are
might
some you're
be.
forgetting.
In college, I played a lot of hours of Halo 2.
Yes.
like weeks straight.
And I think back to my habits back then in college. I mean, I think I play a lot now.
Right.
Games.
It was a different day.
Tripled
then.
back then.
And that's what I'm saying. World of Warcraft, I kind of no-lifed that for a bit. You know?
WoW probably has some serious hours in it too, for sure.
Well, that's probably
I don't know.
The most popular answer.
I'm glad the track. I'm glad it's not tracked somewhere. I don't actually want to know.
My longest time on Steam is Rocket League, but by a lot. And then
hours.
Stardew Valley. I've also likely put a lot of hours over the years into Final Fantasy VII because I played it casually, and then I also tried to learn to speedrun it, but who knows?
But we think those things about those single-player games, Kenny with StarCraft, me with Ocarina of Time, and you with that, but when you compare it to competitive games,
it's the multiplayer stuff.
The loop of a competitive game is like, you're going to play again.
You've put more time into PoE than you have in Ocarina of Time.
Yes.
Easy.
So
and that wasn't even your top answer.
I hate it. So all of our answers is League of Legends, probably.
I don't think so. I don't think it ever caught some of my other worst ones.
All right. Are we good to move forward, or do we need to circle back on anything?
We need to circle back a couple times.
We can loop back if we need to. Nah, let's move forward with Styler. Like in our retro game of the week, Pokémon Ranger.
Overview.
First things first, we would like to welcome our director, our guest, Miss Muso, aka Brittany, to the show today. Welcome.
Welcome.
It's wonderful to be here.
We are thrilled that you are here with us today. Can you introduce yourself a little bit to us and our audience, and let us know how you found out about our silly podcast?
So my name is Ms. Muso. You can call me Brittany. I came to the podcast looking for the soundtrack to an old Sega game called Landstalker, and then when I listened to the episode, you guys didn't give it NGP, and I thought, these guys have no idea what they're talking about. I better listen to more. So I've been listening for a few years now, and finally decided it was time to become a director. Because I think you guys are doing a great job. In my real life, you can probably hear that I come from a land down under, where I am a musician. So I normally play the trumpet, but I have been seen playing the piano, singing, a bit of bass guitar, all kinds of things.
Love all of that. And a few questions. One, you've now listened for a little bit of time, and you still believe that we don't know what we're talking about, I would imagine.
Well, seeing that a lot of my childhood favourite games still don't have NGP status, I'm here to change that.
And then my second question had to do with your the instruments and the musicality. So when are you making an NGP theme song or something to that effect?
It's on the works. It's in the works right now. Few technical difficulties, always happening, but I've been doing some recording today, and over the last few days, it's been a lot of fun. It's coming soon.
Cannot wait.
I thought we were joking.
No, our anniversary episode is coming up. Maybe we could toss it into that one.
Brittany, the amount of people, I'm pretty sure every director, when we ask that question, they're like, I was looking for a soundtrack on Spotify for a game.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah.
It is. It astounded me that's how we all found it.
And it's always random ones.
Yeah, I'll take
I mean, Landstalker's not too random. Robot on Wheels or whatever that one was.
Yeah,
pretty
Clint's
random,
was out there.
There's some
Like,
weird
we almost
ones, but-
didn't connect with Clint because of a weird game.
Brittany, you could have selected any retro game for us to play that we hadn't played yet. You selected Pokémon Ranger, this 2006 Nintendo DS, listed as an action RPG, guys, but I don't know that curse has happened this year. No, this is
that description has lost all meaning,
right.
at least in our podcast.
This is a circle simulator, and I'll have no discussion about it.
That's not a thing.
It is. I mean, it is. Brittany, why did you choose Pokemon Ranger?
Look, I think I came into myself when I started playing the Nintendo DS, and I'm a big Pokemon girly. So I've been playing Pokemon since I was, when did it come out? Since I was about 7 years old, something like that. So always played Pokemon, and I just remember Pokemon Ranger being very, very different from all the mainline Pokemon games. And yeah, something that just kept my teeth gritted. I think I've still got carpal tunnel syndrome from playing this back in 2006. So I thought everybody should have a go.
Kenny, Nolan, can you correctly guess which Pokemon games we played on the podcast?
Red and Blue.
We have played Red and Blue.
Stadium.
We have played Stadium.
that's it.
Pinball. I'm destroying
No
pinball.
one has the memory of a walrus. Yes, and Stadium was the first one, believe it or not. And so,
I missed that episode, I believe.
oh, goodness. So you miss a lot of episodes. It's been a while since we've played a Pokemon game, and here 8 years in, and this is our 4th. That's not many out of all the Pokemon games there
No,
are.
because there are a lot, and all of the ones we play feel like side games almost.
Well, I think 1 or 2 of those Pokemon games were like special episodes. We had a guest or something, so it's always fun to return to Pokemon. My experience with Pokemon is very limited. I played Red, Blue, like when it came out, went hard on the collecting cards when it first came out. Like that was prime for me, but I didn't go any further than that. Like other than on this podcast, Pokemon Stadium, I guess I played as a kid, and Pokemon Snap, but I didn't play any of the other mainline games.
And see, my history with it is a bit shaky. I loved Pokemon growing up, and I played the originals when it came out, and I played every one that came out for some time. Around this time, when Ranger would have been coming out, it's kind of when I started to fall out of love with the series.
To never
and
return.
now I just don't think about it at all.
Right. And Kenny started and ended with Pokemon Go.
Wait,
Not completely
why
true.
is that true?
I did play a lot of that game when it came out, though.
Even after it came out, when other people had stopped.
for like a year, like a good solid piece of my life.
quick
had
question,
me burning calories.
True or false? Did you have spreadsheets and charts?
No,
I saw
He's
for
them.
like-
Pokemon Go.
I
like I had an
saw
app.
them.
I mean, I probably did. I go hard when I go hard, and I forget things that I don't want to remember. So
What was your experience besides Pokemon Go?
very limited, more like yours. Little bit of a few things, but nothing major.
In this game, Pokemon Ranger, it is a very different Pokemon game. So take most of what you know and have experience about Pokemon, set it aside, because in this game, you're not Ash Ketchup, you're not Misty,
Stop.
you're not Brock. These are my
Got those right and messed up the main character.
You take on the role of either Lunic or Solana, who are Pokemon Rangers. You can also name them whatever you want, unfortunately.
So there are lore accurate names.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
I thought it was I do.
That's what I put in my first play because I thought
see
I was
that
just agreeing to.
I did.
Yeah, and so at the beginning of the game, it asks you, are you boy or are you girl? And then you choose, and then you choose the name. But the canon names are Lunic and Solana, which I believe those characters had, or at least one of them had shown up in the animated series. Is that right, Brittany?
Yeah, in the movie, there was a movie that featured the Pokemon Rangers.
Right. I knew there was a movie, but I also think that the Rangers, or at least one of them, had shown up in certain episodes of the animated series at different times. But
They pushed it a couple different ways. I think you see Ranger stuff in some manga as well, and like they're really out there. When these games came out, they were like, we're gonna make Rangers a thing.
And in this game, you are a brand new Pokemon Ranger who swears to serve as a guardian of both Pokemon and nature by enlisting the help of various Pokemon to defend the Fiore region from those who would do it harm. And so, in order to do so, you're going into various Pokemon habitats and environments. You're drawing circles around them, and then you're leaving them there after you use up their abilities and powers for your own benefit.
My question is, with this story, does this mean they thought the original like setup for Pokemon was a bit too dark?
Aggressive? Yeah, dark.
Yeah, a bit too aggressive. They needed park rangers to make sure there was like a safe haven to protect them and for nature.
Well, I think that Pokemon Rangers showed up in the games already. There was characters, NPCs that you could battle that were called Pokemon Rangers that were protecting the park. And I think, yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. And then Nintendo brings out this Pokemon game so that you can unlock a Pokemon for your mainline game.
Yes.
So secret
Yeah,
knowledge.
yeah. Okay. Instead of battling them out together and forcing them into captivity, we're releasing them now.
Yeah, I like the whole Ranger motif.
You would.
No, I do too.
I absolutely would.
You stopped
Kenny's
playing
a-
the originals because it was too violent for you.
Kenny, you're an Eagle Scout?
knocking them out. Like that's so rude.
Yes, Nolan, I am.
Thanks, Kenny. I knew it. I knew you were.
Identity theft is not a joke. Yeah, it's wholesome. They take care of nature. They live and work symbiotically. I love the Ranger vibe.
Gameplay.
Thank you for bringing another DS title to us, Brittany. I get excited every time we get to play this console because these guys have very limited experience with it. I have a lot more, but as we mentioned a couple times in the past, the catalog for the DS is enormous. I think the biggest catalog maybe rivals the top catalog ever of a console. And there are many I didn't play. This was obviously one of them. So the games that we have played on the DS, the stylus has not really been a thing. It's been there. It's optional at best. But some games even just encourage playing it normally. This game, that's different. The stylus is integral. And there are some DS games like this, and I'm glad that we got to play one that was more focused. Like, it was centered around this gimmick for the console.
This game is, entirely built around what they call it, the styler.
Right, yeah, they wrote it into the game.
I dislike that, yeah.
I like when you have weird hardware when the game just acknowledges it. Calling out your styler is fun. Having your Sheikah slate when you're playing on,
That's a good way to
like
do it, yeah.
Breath of the Wild. Like it's a nice way of sort of justifying the interactions and the teaching and the things you're going to talk about. So, I liked it.
And Brittany, you mentioned like this. You played this when it came out, or when you were younger on your DS. How was that initial experience, and how many scratches did you make on your screen? Because, like, I would feel like you're trying to so rapidly draw circles, which we'll explain in just a little bit, and I've got to imagine you damaged the hardware.
I pulled out my DS Lite from that time, and the top screen, the hinge is actually broken, so it was small. It was that game that did it. So I was looking through my catalog of DS games, and I only have Pokemon games for the DS.
Okay.
I bet there's a lot of them.
It's crazy.
There are quite a few. That original DS was a tank. Let me tell you,
Really?
The original model. Oh yes, I beat mine up. It had the best hinge out of all of them. I swear. Like the light is maybe a personal favorite of mine. I just love the design of it, and the features that they added to it. But you had scratches. That bottom screen was like a Palm Pilot.
Is there stylus drift?
No, I don't know. Maybe.
Bad joke.
In Pokemon Ranger, you are traveling from town to town. When you get to a new town, you're visiting the Ranger base. At the Ranger base or around there, you're getting a mission. Sometimes they're really tiny missions, like go help a lady find all of her missing Pokemon that are scattered throughout the city. Sometimes they're more serious, like the bad guys are doing something dastardly. What, Kenny?
Missing Pokemon is a very serious problem.
You'd be a great ranger.
He is a ranger.
All right, you go and complete that mission, and in doing so, you get a level up and an increase of power to your styler, which you're using to temporarily capture Pokemon. That's the thing that's so unique here, is that when you go into a particular area, and which Pokemon typically has these areas, right? There's a certain amount of Pokemon that are visible on the screen, not random encounters, that you are running into, or they're running into you. You're going into a battle where your job is to draw consecutive circles around that Pokemon without lifting up your stylus a set amount of times. There's a number over the head of these Pokemon, and if you do it, if you circle them 5 times, for example, and then lift your stylus after completing the 5th circle, then you have temporarily captured that Pokemon, which then you can use either in the overworld or as a Poke Assist in battle, and then release them back into the wild.
Yeah, you said 5 times. The number of circles varies depending on the enemy, but you're lassoing them. Do we know the time frame on like kids and popularity of stuff as well? Because the styler itself, obviously, you're holding a stylus, but in game and in like the shows and everything, the representation is almost more like this little top, this sort of item that like goes out and physically like spins around. Do we know if like Beyblades were already a thing, or why that was it just felt like they were trying to do a bunch of things all at once, and it sort of worked, but I couldn't figure out what lane they were in. Am I lassoing
certainly.
them? Am I
This was
confusing them? Am I battling them?
No, this was Beyblade's territory. Beyblades had been out. And so maybe they were trying to tap into the like toy market, and just everything was just, I don't know. There might be a connection there, but I think that the circle drawing is a good solution here for this. Like, there was another mini game, or like maybe even a mainline game on the DS where like part of catching was like tapping the ball at the right time or something, which was hard to do because they're tiny. It was like small and not. And that's not very interactive, right? But drawing a circle as the Pokemon's moving across the screen, and some of them are much faster, is a good mechanic, because then I think they added, or the way they added other modifiers to that mechanic in this game is pretty unique, and I really liked how they did that. But the circle drawing is just like. Also, we have to talk about this too. We ran into an issue. I emulated this week. Dustin did too. And I'm assuming Kenny did. And what workaround, Dustin? I mean, I did it. I don't remember what I did. You told me what to do.
Brittany, we weren't able to play on original hardware like you, and so we're emulating. And drawing circles with a mouse is not the easiest thing. And so what I did this week was used the frame rate adjuster in my emulator. And on difficult Pokemon... All right, I didn't always use it, but on the difficult ones, I would hit minus, and so it would drop the frames per second by half or more. But I would circle those things so fast before they would.
So
move.
you cheated, is
no,
what I'm hearing.
I used modern technical hardware in order to be able to accomplish, because you're not going to be able to do it. You can't circle with a mouse like you can with a little pin.
It also explains your
Thankfully-
rhombuses in your first play. Instead of
They're not great.
Yes.
My shade. I guess they don't have to be circles. They could be squares
No.
or rectangles or triangles.
Yeah.
Yeah, thankfully you don't have to just depend on your ability to quickly circle these things with no help.
Look
You've
at
got tools.
Kenny.
You've got a partner Pokemon that you can pull out once you saved up enough energy
Minion.
to stun your Pokemon that you're trying to capture. And you've got other Pokemon that you can capture and use as well to do various sorts of things, from upgrading your stylus to a blocking sort of leafy growth line instead of a normal line that sort of contains them, to spitting bubbles at them. They give you all sorts of tools to help you capture the more difficult ones. You don't have to just be on your spin game.
Brittany, have you forgiven me for my mispronunciation of Minun?
Mine, and yes, that was a laugh out loud moment for me. Minion or mine, and if you play as the female character, you do get Plusle as your partner instead, so you get one or the other. I think it's important to note the attacks of the Pokemon that you're trying to capture as well. So it's just like one of the mainline games. You have to learn how these Pokemon are attacking, what types they are, so how you respond and how you actually capture. I remembered too late into the game that I could make half a circle, wait for them to attack, and then keep going. So I would continue circling without getting destroyed.
I did something a lot of fun and throwback this week, because I was like, hey, if I'm going to play it like I was, like I would have played it back in the 2000s, I'm going to do this. So I was able to find online and download the PDF of the official Nintendo Player's Guide. and I used
Love
that,
that.
actual strategy guide this week. And so it also has all the charts of like their strengths and weaknesses against, because the elemental, I don't know
Types.
if they call it that, the types in Pokemon, which now I think there are multiple types for most Pokemons. In
yes.
this game at this time they didn't. It was still just like, you're either rock or you're grass or you're psychic or whatever. And it's a rock, paper, scissors kind of thing where some are strong, some Poke assists based on what kind it is are stronger against other kinds of Pokemon.
Yeah, that was one of my favorite ways that they iterated on that, because like I feel like with the basis that they had of like circling Pokemon, it's a very simple premise. The game's not very deep. It could have stayed that way, but they implemented typing, which is an integral part of Pokemon gameplay, normal Pokemon gameplay. And that's my favorite part, like how the different types interact differently and assist you in capturing. For example, electric, that recharges the stylus. You've got the grass type, which snares them, makes it easier. And they do all of them. Like ghost type, ice type, they've got bug. It's awesome. And it made it fun every time that I kind of learned a new one or came across a new ability. I was like, oh, sick.
You implied it, Nolan, but I think we should overtly point out that you're not only using the Pokemon that you capture to help you in other Pokemon battles. If you're capturing somebody else and use their moves, there's lots of in the world interactions as well.
Field assists or field moves.
Yeah. Field assists become a big part of this game, where you're having to find the type of Pokemon locally. It's going to be close to you somewhere. You go track it down that has the skill you need, capture it, and then go use that skill to progress or get past an obstacle or what have you.
I think you can imagine it by now if you haven't played the game, but the bottom screen is the environment you're navigating. It's the city you're in or the cave that you're in, and you're moving around, which you can do either using the D-pad or the stylus. Like, they really crafted this game to where I think you can do almost everything with the stylus, which...
Pretty much.
Again, very different than the other DS games that we played. The top screen is like a device that shows a mini map. It shows your current Pokemon friends, which you're only allowed to have like 4 at the beginning, and then you slowly unlock other ones to where you can have a train of Pokemon following behind you in any given environment.
They knew what we wanted. They knew what we wanted.
And you also get some information about the world you're in up on the large, not the large screen, the top screen. And yeah, that's basically what you do. Your main combatants, the people that you're fighting, are the Go Rock Squad. The quad. Hold on. Whoa. Wait. Okay. The Go Rock Quad is the like lead bosses. I think probably not the main, but like the lead bosses of the Go Rock Squad, and they are instrumentalists. Is there a connection here that I'm starting to make, Brittany? Are you
Absolutely.
Are you a part of the no? Because one of them is a violinist. Did you say you play the violin?
Trumpet.
Not the violin, and actually the bassist, Garrett, I think was the character name. That's probably the only one of those instruments that I actually do play.
Yeah, but I didn't expect that group, by the way. Like it was out of left field for me when this group of like rock stars show up. I guess they're not rock stars, but they start playing they pull out their instruments to dazzle us with their musical expertise, and yeah.
It feels pretty on brand for Pokemon villains.
It's a safe villain.
They're over the top.
They don't seem too bad, you know?
It's a safe villain, yeah. Like, Team Rocket is darker than they are, for sure.
Right. But I thought they were good opponents. You know, they're the, kind of daft opponents, right? That are just going around and... I think the main thing is they stole a like advanced styler that is being made, and so that's kind of the big thing. You're trying to find them and get it back as you're doing these multiple missions throughout. But it all seemed relatively, and maybe more so than most Pokemon games I played. I don't mean this in a negative way, but and so let me know if you felt the same.
I'll take it in a
It
negative
seemed
way.
all kind of, I'm going to say elementary to me, meaning that I felt it was a lot more kid-centric, kid-friendly, and I know Pokemon is as a series, but Pokemon...
Yeah, then what?
Pokemon Red...
Then just the mainline ones?
Yes,
Like,
yes. That's what I mean. And Pokemon Stadium, where you're putting out Pokemon to like thrash one another. This one, and in the difficulty, I felt like it was very handholdy, very, I just felt it was a lot more kid oriented.
Yeah, I got that too, but I feel like I don't think they made this one extra elementary to differentiate it. I think it ended up being that way here, but they all kind of feel that way to me. But I get what you're saying with this one, because it's such a it's an interactive concept, but it's very simple. But and it's funny you brought up difficulty, because that's not the word that I'm looking for here, but I do want us to talk about something. Okay, you said carpal tunnel earlier, Brittany, and yeah, look, with the mouse especially, okay, with the stylus, I could do that all day. Probably not. But with what we were doing on emulation, okay, it got old. Let me just say that first and see if anyone else agrees with me.
Oh, redundant. Because that is the name of the game. Like, that's what you're doing from the beginning to the end. Larger circles or smaller or quicker circles, like you're drawing circles, whether it's against, a Chikolita. I'm just kidding. I know it's not that. Or a Mew. There is a secret one in there. Or it's Mewtwo. I don't remember which one it is. But you are drawing circles around them. The way in which you do it, like how using Poke Assist, that's the unique thing there. But all of them circles.
Yeah, like the Poke Assist thing is a passive feature, like it happens, right? But the active thing is the same, circles. You call it Circle Sim, and I mean, it's a funny joke, but it kind of is. It did start to hurt my wrist, is my point. That's all.
Brittany, did you beat it as a kid? Like, were you able to push through the wrist pain?
Oh, yes, I finished it. I think when I loaded up the game, I had 21 hours of gameplay on there. I couldn't believe it, and I finished it this week in 7. So
right.
It's
it's not a 21-hour game, so she was just chilling.
No, I think it was. I went back to try and catch every single Pokemon. Got to catch them all. And then all the extra missions. So I think I would have done those extra missions multiple times, it looks like.
That's a good question.
There's post-story stuff that you get, other Pokemon to catch, and more things to do after the sort of main story has finished, including unlocking or finding the egg to get yourself your legendary Pokemon to transfer to your other devices, which was what a cool Easter egg.
It was the only way to get a Manaphy, spoilers, for your Gen 4 games at the time.
So this goes to Gen 4, right? This is Gen 4 Pokemon and before. Can you catch all of the Pokedex for all of them in this game?
No.
I don't think so. Okay.
No, this game has 213 altogether, I think.
Interesting. Okay. That's about the size of Gen 1's 250, huh? Okay. I was picking up on that fact that they had hand selected some, and it makes sense. It seemed like they picked the ones that made sense in like a forest setting. I know there are other kind of areas, but like it felt like more of zoo-friendly Pokemon versus like a Rayquaza or something. Although maybe Rayquaza's in this game. I don't know.
I've never heard that one before.
Giant Dragon, legendary Pokemon, Dustin.
There
Gen 3.
Gen 3.
Which one is Gen 4, by the way? Is that Diamond Sapphire?
Wow!
Diamond and Pearl.
Man, dude,
I was
get
close.
off this show.
That I was close was impressive.
You're kind of close.
It's cool because there is a lot of post-game stuff. Like, you can go back and revisit virtually all of the environments that you were in, and now there's new Pokemon there that weren't there in your first pass-through. There's also, like, I don't know how you'd be able to get them all without a guide, because, like, some of them are, like, hidden. You've got to go into this certain part of the cave and then use a Pokemon to knock down this wall to go to this place to, there's just so many steps there. But, I mean, if you've got 21 hours to invest as a kid or 7 today, so you beat it. You didn't clear it all, right, on this playthrough in 7 hours?
I got to the final boss, the final mission in 7 hours, actually just under 7 hours. But to do all the extra stuff and catch more, so that would take much longer, I think.
Yeah.
Aged.
Brittany, do you know which one came first, the chicken or the egg? The movie or the game?
tell you right now.
I'd have to look that up. I think it's the game.
I watched a little bit of the movie this week.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I needed to get into the world.
Okay.
It's largely underwater, which is what was unexpected, and it
Temple of the Sea.
Yeah, I think it all doesn't it all center around that Manaphy? Like, I think the whole. Have you seen the movie, Brittany?
It would have been a long time ago.
I looked at lists this week of like Pokemon movies ranked. First of all, there are a lot of Pokemon movies.
Yeah, a ton.
Second of all, most lists have this somewhere in the middle. So they're like some good things, some not good things, nothing to write home about. And from what I gathered from those lists, most Pokemon movies are not worth writing home about, but there are a few that are really good. So I watched a little bit this week. It was interesting. It was kind of fun. Again, it's Pokemon and geared to a younger generation.
That's a lot of hedging. You're okay to not like it.
I didn't watch enough to form a full opinion on whether or not I didn't like it. I'm just realizing, and maybe it's always been this way, that Pokemon. I guess I've known this. Pokemon is for kids, and I'm not that anymore.
Yes, but you can still like it. In fact, so many adults like it still.
Absolutely, they do a great job of tapering and keeping a wider style. They're not exclusive to kids, but they're definitely targeted at that demographic.
And I think, we joke about this all the time, but I mean, Pokemon Go did revolutionize that as well in terms of who cares about Pokemon. Because before, a lot of those people didn't care, but people who love mobile games were introduced to Pokemon, some that literally had never seen it before, and became fans because it's cute. Right.
I know.
Game came out
Yeah,
before the movie
Pokemon
a couple months, by the way.
No. Oh, game came out before the movie. Got you.
Yeah.
And I know I'm not the first to mention it with Pokemon Go, but it really did revolutionize like the whole thing. Like there was an era in time where I would see everybody walking the streets with their head down at their phone, and they were catching Pokemon. Old men, young children.
I saw two bros, finance bros. I was picking up food the other day. They both walked in to order and both had Pokemon Go on their phones, and they locked their phones and went and ordered. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Wow.
The great thing about Pokemon throughout its history is that it's all about that connectivity. Mm-hmm. So trading, you've got to have friends to trade with, and now you've got the global trade system, whatever it's called. So you trade across the world. I still do that with my Pokemon Scarlet and Violet now.
Wow.
You can do it on your phone. You can trade with people from all over the world. So Pokemon Go really revolutionized that too.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The DS is no GBA, but what did you think of the graphics? I bring that up jokingly because I love the GBA graphics and how it presents itself. The DS looks very different than the GBA in my opinion.
So it's not even, you mentioned it
Not
in your
even a
first playthrough, and it made me think about it. It's not a comparison, but I don't think it's, okay. The DS is an acquired taste in terms of graphics. And some DS games look horrendous. Straight up. This is not one of them. This one, I think, looks good. I think the artwork is on brand for a Pokemon game, for like a HAL Labs game. They clearly put the time and effort into it. I'm trying to give you all an example of normal DS graphics that just look bad, and I think that one we played, Retro Game Challenge, a lot of DS games fell into that category of like really harsh, broken up lines, and it just ends up falling flat. Here, I quite enjoyed the graphics.
I think it looks like every other DS game too, and you know what you're looking at when you look at it now. I think it doesn't look terrible, but nostalgia also has rose-tinted glasses, you know?
Yeah, and I definitely don't think it looks terrible. I do think it looks dated. I don't know if it's the resolution or the tiny screen, but the characters in the overworld kind of just looked kind of smashed to me as they were walking around. Again, you can clearly tell what everything is, and there's vivid color, like tons of there's no problems there. It just, none of it really like caused, it wasn't all the beautiful pixel art that we've seen in some kind of games, you know? It was just, it's completely serviceable.
We always talk about whether or not developers do a good job, especially on unique hardware like this, on catering to the hardware. We've already pointed out that the stylus use here was great, not only just as a mechanic, though maybe too much for some people and just like you know, a lot of physical work, but I wasn't super impressed with how they decided to use the two screens. I feel like it worked fine from a gameplay point of view, giving you that top screen that was sort of informational. But I feel like, as we're talking about visuals, that was a lot of space that was just sort of like taken up by just sort of being the menu of kind of information and things that you have. And so I guess during the intro, they did things like scroll the letter all the way up, and there's places where they kind of took advantage of both of the screens. But I would have liked to have just seen more, I don't know, sort of use of the fact that they had both.
I think Leighton, early on in y'all's DS journey, made you expect...
Ruined us?
Yes.
We
yes,
started
because,
really strong with that.
Because in terms of the double screen usage, this is par for the course. Like, either the top or the bottom screen was used for maps, interactable maps you can touch, inventory, and the other screen's used for, like, it's what you're looking at most of the time. So they chose the bottom screen in this case.
And that's definitely the easier thing to do. I get, as a developer, like, the appeal of designing my UI in a way that, like, I have a dedicated space, and it's just always kind of like, I wish that they had done some more with it visually, like on the artistic side.
Yeah.
So not like a huge complaint. And I do think that because they had that space and because they were building for the stylus, that some of the actual like interactivity sorts of choices they made, the UI broadly, was well done. I thought the little menu that popped up that you could select, easy to navigate, understand what was going on. And so they did some things really well. I just wanted more shinies, you know.
You can't say that when it comes to Pokemon. That's a term.
That's true. I mean, you can, just not this game.
I think that we've talked about it some, but another aging issue is the hardware itself. Like, emulating this today is not as easy as emulating some other consoles, home or handheld, because of what we talked about. But emulating the stylus as a mouse is just much more difficult to do today. However, completely doable if you're using the frame rate trick, or you have...
or if you're not,
Kenny,
it's fine.
No, Kenny,
Frame rate cheat.
Kenny, if you didn't use it, you didn't get far, because there are some Pokemon that you're not going to be able to catch with a mouse because it's just not the same. However, let me pause. Some in our community this week emulated on their phone and said that it worked really well because you could draw circles, you could still do that kind of tactile
You got
response.
10 built-in stylers.
Do not call your fingers stylers.
Don't call them stylers, bro.
You're
So
styling
many
for days.
circles.
Brittany, do you play on like the cartridge or like main hardware, or do you have like a flash cart?
Yeah, I have the original game for the DS, and that's how I played mostly this week, to join in with most of the community, because I knew that pretty much everyone would have to emulate if they didn't already have the game. I did try it on my PC. I have a touch screen, and it wouldn't work. So
that's frustrating.
for the game. So I thought if I could figure out how to make the touch screen work for the emulator, it would have been much more fun. But trying to draw it like in front of me would have been very interesting,
Right.
I feel.
Guys, I'm making the decision we need to invest in flashcards for all of us, and hardware for the DS, because it changes the game. I don't think it's a fair... Like, yeah, we can say it's hard to emulate, but it's kind of not like a fair thing to even say because it's so available.
I agree with you and I disagree with you. I'm going to connect this to our recent Wii situation. And what I mean by that is that I still think it's worth talking about the difficulties of playing it in 2023. However, we've taken the steps now to be able to emulate Wii properly with some of the old hardware. And I think we need to do the same when it calls for it. DS calls for that. GBA doesn't necessarily call for that. No. DS calls for that, and we've absolutely got to do that. Like, actually, at the end of this episode, we need to do that.
Yes. I already know the product. I'll get
Okay.
it for us.
Okay, we're doing that.
Okay.
I need to make mention of there's a character at the very start of the game who I resonated with very clearly throughout the playthrough. He says, you can use the D-pad to move around, but you can use your styler or your stylus to touch the screen. I come from the touch generation.
Yeah. There was.
Did you catch that guy?
Yo, yeah, absolutely caught that guy. I think he was in my first play. Also, at the beginning, when they're trying to explain stuff, they're like, hey, they're not, the things they're saying are like, they're not going to mind if you just touch them. Walk up to this person and just start touching them. Like, they say things like that. And I don't think that's transferable to real life, but it's good advice.
Invade their personal space. They'll be cool.
That doesn't age well.
Also, always, like, it would talk about connecting with these Pokemon on an emotional level. Like, it kept throwing that line out, which I thought was interesting, and I didn't know if my character was falling in love with the Pokemon or whatever, but like to even ride on the Lapras, you had to connect with the Lapras on a.
You have a pet. You know how this
You're
works.
right. I'll go ride my rabbit across the open sea.
Hey, Rangers do not treat them as pets. Okay, they're free.
They're friends and they can do what
Thought
they
you were a
want
Ranger,
to.
Kenny.
Yeah, they're free, and then they get a partner.
Okay, music. We do need to hit music before we go on. Was there anything memorable? Actually, no. Let's take it straight to the musician here. Which, by the way, we probably dropped some of this NGP lore before, but just so y'all know, Kenny plays a little bit of guitar. Nolan
I
plays
play a little bit of everything, but nothing.
Oh
well.
yeah, a little bit of guitar, drums, and piano. Nolan plays a little bit of guitar, and I play a little bit of bass. We'll just leave it at that.
Look, I'm waiting for the NGP album to come out, so
I think
get on that.
God.
I think we've I've played with both of them, but I don't think the three of us have played in any one situation before, which is
No.
interesting.
No, but I've definitely played with Dustin.
me?
I don't think. Yeah, I haven't played with Kenny.
NGP lore. But we're going to give this to Miss Muso, Brittany. What music? How did the music work for you? What did you think of that? Any standout tracks?
Look, whenever you had the whenever you had the music that was trying to get you really worried, I can't remember what the tracks are called, to be honest, but it happens really early when you're trying to catch Tailo or something like that. That it goes really, really quick. Always, my heart rate would rise very quickly when it came on. All over, the music I think was quite fitting because it really fits in with this Pokemon Ranger. You know, we're here to help. We're here to look after Pokemon. And I got this. There was always a marching track. It was always that kind of thing. So it really fit well with the theme, I think.
Yeah,
they're masters at that. It's great music on it. But here's the thing: does it stand out from other Pokemon games? Not necessarily. But neither do those games. It's Pokemon music, and it's fitting, and it makes the game more enjoyable, which is what you want. So yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna go listen to the soundtrack now, but it fit Pokemon.
I was a little disappointed adjacently in the quality of some of the sound effects. I don't know how much of that is just hardware, and how much of that is sort of their implementation, but there were a few things that happened and I was kind of like, oh, that's the best we're doing here.
Pokemon growls? Like noises that Pokemon?
Yeah, like that.
All sorts of things. Yeah, some of the Pokemon noises, but like other things too. Just the sound effects did not work for me.
I've always thought it was hilarious. The Pokemon all have their individual growls, like even in the game, like normal games, original games. And at some point, they have to start making them so ludicrous. So, like, when they come out on the Pokedex, that makes their noise. But, like, it's gotten to the point where it's like, they have to just start making it longer and weirder. I always love that.
I love it when you meet a Pokemon in the game and the voice text comes up and it doesn't look like anything like what their cry sounds like.
Just a bunch of R's.
There are 2 sequels to this game. This was the first one in the series, and it was successful enough to come out with 2 sequels, Pokemon Ranger Shadows of Almia and Pokemon Ranger Guardian Signs. Both same kind of circle, but but with some alterations along the way, and new Pokemon and new generations as well.
Yeah. Cool.
Brittany, had you played those? Are they good?
I've played Shadows of Almia and a little bit of Guardian Signs. I will say that they're an improvement on the formula.
Nice.
And Shadows of Almia, look, it's a game I think if you enjoyed Ranger or if you didn't quite vibe with it, try out Almia because it's a funnier game. It's and it works really well.
Okay.
Very cool. If you want a copy of Pokemon Ranger for your Nintendo DS, it's only going to cost you $24 used or loose.
Easy.
And $332 new. Big gap.
Pretty expensive. Yeah, big gap.
Final thoughts.
At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we give our summarized thoughts on the game of the week. For this week, Pokemon Ranger. Nolan, what did you think?
Okay. Pokemon game, maybe some of you heard me at the end of last episode. I was like hype that we had a director, and it was a hand-selected game, and then I got sad. Bit of an overreaction, I'll admit. Pokemon is... this era of Pokemon is one of my favorites. Gen 3, Gen 4, absolutely love. Love the originals too, but I really like this year of gaming for Pokemon, and I never really dabbled in the side games. I would absolutely consider this one a side game, although a much more significant and robust one than I expected. On the DS, I knew there would be some sort of touch component, didn't realize it would be this central to the game. And I gotta say, really, really solid Pokemon spinoff game. You've got familiar Pokemon, you've got familiar characters, the vibe is there, you're just doing something completely different than the normal game, which, let's be honest, is the same thing every time, and so, that can get formulaic. So it's nice to have something else in the franchise that you can go to, especially at this time. And I thought it was super solid and super fun, and I would be interested in playing the other ones, especially if they improved on this already great attempt at touch and at main mechanics. And also, we didn't mention some of the mini games, and we kind of mentioned the puzzles that you're solving in the overworld. Kind of reminded me of like HMs and like progressing in the main game when you get a new HM. Great. Fun game.
Kenny, final thoughts?
I'll take it a step further than Nolan. I want to quit my job and go work as a ranger in the Pokemon universe.
Okay.
This was a fun title. Definitely, like we've said, I haven't been historically the biggest Pokemon player, but have been more familiar with the mainline sort of style. And so not getting that kind of RPG battle system, but instead getting this sort of, I don't know, wildlife care adventure was a totally unexpected take. And apparently Pokemon does it for me, whether it's drawing in circles or going out and walking in circles. Anytime I've played a Pokemon game, I've been pulled in, and so this one definitely did good things for my heart. I'm glad we got to play it.
Just to balance these boys a little, I agree with a lot of what they said. I do think it is a slow start. There are a lot of tutorials, and a lot of the tutorials teach you the exact same thing that the previous tutorial taught you. So it's a slow start. I think that
Kids game.
That's my second part. I think it is much more child-friendly than even some other Pokemon games, and so it's kind of easy. I mean, the circles are you got to do more, or the Pokemon fights a little bit more, but you're always in a confined space in the world that so they're pretty much saying, hey, use these Pokemon to help you catch this harder Pokemon. So like they put everything there you need to. There's nothing that's really punishing in this game, so it's really easy. And then there was a third thing. Oh, and from the start to the finish, you're doing the same thing. You're circling Pokemon. So it can get redundant. It can get tedious. But in all of those things, it's a very unique take at Pokemon. I hate having to leave the Pokemon behind. It made me sad. But they're in a better place. not heaven. They're not dead. They're in that environment that they belong. And so it was fun to be introduced to Pokemon Ranger this week. And Brittany, your final words on the game that you brought.
So I always thought this one was a game for the Pokemon fans, not an entry title. I think if you know the Pokemon, you're more likely to enjoy this one, enjoy hunting them out and looking for them, and using their abilities as well. It's a completely different game from all the other Pokemon games. Yes, it's a lot of fun. The question is, if you can draw circles really, really quickly, you're going to enjoy this one because you're going to be very good at it. This one uses the touchscreen on the DS really, really well. You can't do without it. And a lot of DS games didn't utilize the touchscreen as much or at all in the era when, it's the touch generation. You want to use it. So I imagine emulating with a mouse or joystick would get very, very tricky. So if you can emulate and you're a fan of the series, definitely give this one a go. It's a lot of fun. To put it down to 4 words, carpal tunnel inducing fun time.
Very good. That should be on the box art.
Accurate. Yeah, it should be on the box. Warning.
Those are our thoughts. What are your thoughts on YouTube? 28% said yes, Pokemon Ranger is worth playing today. 10% said no, go play something else. But 63% have never played this Pokemon title before.
63 is high for a game like this.
Because it's a Pokemon game, but at the same time, you said it's a spin-off. It's a different kind of Pokemon game, you know? And it's for a DS.
Right.
A loop off.
Hey.
Many from our community played along this week and wrote in. Here are a few of their thoughts. Jopa Koira said, I've played pretty much every Pokemon game on the GBA and NDS, but somehow I managed to miss this one. It's a pity I did because I quite liked how it put the capabilities of DS to use. The long tutorial in the beginning suggests this was maybe made with a younger audience in mind, but after that I enjoyed the challenges and the way it made me think Pokemon more like animals in the wild rather than pets who fight each other. I got about halfway through the game, but I'm going to finish it later because it tickled me the right way.
Jopa Koira mentioning all those games reminded me of a DS title called Mystery Dungeon. Brittany, have you played that series? I haven't,
yes.
And I'm interested. Is it good?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Ooh, Brittany,
Okay,
what's your favorite Pokemon game? Is it Ranger?
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
I know,
That's
tough.
a very, very difficult...
Just broke her brain.
Look, I've played... I think I've played all of them, including pinball, and I didn't really care for the pinball games all that much. But I'm going to say Pokemon Sapphire, because I think that's when I really got into it.
Heck yeah. No, it's Ruby for me.
Garlisle said, Pokemon has always been interesting in that its core game suggests so much more to a world than the RPG battler style can actually depict. Ranger is one attempt to look at its world through a different lens, and I appreciate that. Unfortunately, even as someone who loves touch-based games, Ranger's core gameplay loop fails to capture me. I like the variety and thought that went into its pseudo battle design on the Pokemon's side, but the variety doesn't stick out to the player so much and leaves me quickly pretty bored.
Okay, I can see that side of it too, being kind of like, really, I'm just drawing circles the whole time, and that's a fair conclusion to come to.
And I think they give you the tools to play around with that with the Poke Assists. Like if they want you to use those.
Sure.
And you can say that about any game.
No, you can't.
Oh, not Poke Assist. Really, I'm doing a thing over and over again.
Yeah, but circles.
Like,
don't say
sure.
Hades and say anything bad about Hades.
No, I would never. But like, this first-person shooter, I'm just shooting a gun at people the whole time. That's all the game is. Like, I don't know. This feels like a poor argument.
Kenny coming in hot
for Pokemon Ranger commentary.
Yeah. Dude, this guy wants to protect those Pokemon.
Yeah.
Hot Tamales said, Pokemon Ranger is not my styler of game. The long beginning tutorial wore on me like my too big uniform. Missions were just a roundabout way to keep me in the gameplay loop of catch and release. It felt more like Fetch Quest with hide and seek and ring around the rosy. Plus, the linear story felt very handheld and didn't capture mine interest. Some people can get wrapped up in a,
From
in a
Discord.
cute game like this, but I prefer the original Pokemon battle action to be captivated. I hate to point the finger at the overall gameplay change from classic Pokemon, but this is one game that I don't want to touch again
You're banned. That's all I have to say.
because of all the
of course, we don't do puns.
puns. We don't.
Here. I mean,
News
Kenny
to
does,
me.
but I can't ban him.
Hey,
He's
I will
part of the
say, Minun and Plusle are absolutely adorable. I know they're Pikachu
Yes.
knockoffs, but
Hey.
they
Watch your mouth.
look so close, and they're the positive and minus of
If
like
anything, they're
the
Pichu
charges,
knockoffs.
which was a Pikachu knockoff.
You're saying some stuff right now that's not okay.
Them's fighting words.
Yeah.
A Spot finally said, "This is one of those games where you either vibe with the main mechanic or you don't. Gladly for me, I did. The game suffers from being far too handholdy for way too long, but once it gets going, Pokémon Rangers offers a really unique, if more casual Pokémon adventure that I'm probably going to finish. If you like Pokémon, this wouldn't be a bad one to check out."
Brittany, favorite
That
Pokemon
seemed
of
to-
all time.
Azrael. Just
Oh, good.
purely for the cuteness factor.
Absolutely.
Love that legendary flying Pokemon.
No.
I'm not close?
You gotta look it up. You gotta look it up.
You're not close.
Setting aside Pokemon Ranger for now, and we're going to randomly select the next game that we're going to be playing for the next 7 days. Brittany, will you play it with us no matter what it is?
I will try my best.
Randomizing now. This game was released in 1996 for
Good year.
the
Are you serious?
PlayStation.
Oh my god.
Eh.
Nice.
It is a game that was developed by Sony Interactive Studios and published by Sony Computer Entertainment.
Great.
It is the first
Okay.
game in its series.
Should be great.
It's an action RPG, isn't it?
Every game is, if you think about it. It is a racing video game.
I'm not writing it off yet.
On the PlayStation.
On motorcycles?
In this game, you are riding hover bikes.
Oh.
And it is a game that I brought to our... What is it when we went
The
and
hall,
got
the Retro Game Store
the
hall.
Retro Game Store hall
Yeah.
that no one will remember, but I played when I was younger. For the next 7 days, we are playing the game called Jet Moto.
1. You brought 2.
Oh, I did
Right.
bring 2. This is
Yeah,
just
yeah.
the first one. Yeah,
Have you played the first one?
I think so, but now
Okay.
now I don't even know.
This is a very significant game. A lot of people's favorites. Really like defining racer on that console in the 90s. I'm excited
it's-
to try it.
Like, it's a kind of a science fiction. What? Science
It's a science
fiction
fiction.
motocross. Like, it's a
Yeah.
hover bike. Kenny doesn't know what to think over there, but if you
I
watch
don't
the video,
know.
he's got a lot of facial expressions going on.
I just want to draw more circles.
Oh my god.
You'll have plenty of time.
You
I
ride
don't
your
think
bike in a
Jet
circle.
Moto will take up your entire time this week. If you are in Europe, grab Jet Rider. That's the name of it. But play it along with us this week, Jet Moto.
We also want you to join us in Discord this week. There you can talk about Jet Moto. You can leave commentary on Jet Moto, and we just might read it on the episode. You'll find a lot of other channels there. And I just want to give a shout out to Hyde209 for joining Discord this week.
Welcome.
You can be the next one, and I might shout you out. Who knows? We need to get 2,000 members in 1 week. So I'll see all y'all there.
2001 week.
2,000
easy.
more members.
Oh, yeah. Done.
Yeah.
Easy. Everybody invite your circle of friends. We want to say thank you to those of you who support us on patreon.com, including our large and growing list of producer-level supporters, such as Adam, Alex, Marley, Antonin, Bin, Big Dude, Brunt, Ellis, Fishy, Francesca, Gimbin, Hallex, Harold, J. Robert, Jake, Jared, Joey, Jordan, Justin, Kenny's Beard, Clint, Knickknack, Corey, Levi, Maxima, Mega Triad, Not Enough Dog, Pedro, Replicated Flame, Sajin, Shane, Shauna, Psycho Mantis, Thomas, Turtle, Unbedavable, Siegfried, and Zion. Want to say an extra large shout out to our director level supporters, Bro Jim, Garlisle, Super Hybrid, and of course, this week especially, Miss Muso.
Whoa.
Brittany, thank you so much for bringing us this game, for sharing your time, for coming on and geeking out about old video games with us. We've loved it, so thank you so much. And we have some new patrons this week. Smashing Bricks Retro Gaming Podcast has upped their contribution, so thank you for your community support. We have a new producer. Nolan's old mustache is now a producer of the show.
Now we've got a group of people.
Is it the same guy?
We've got Kenny's beard and Nolan's old mustache. I'm just believing it's some rich person that decided to make a gag. So expect what is coming for me. Dustin's...
I don't know. I'll think about it, I'm sure.
Oh, you're the one doing it.
Bigger news. Yeah, it was me all this time. Bigger news. We've got a new director level supporter that just dropped this week. So Siegfried, who has been a producer for a long time, decided, hey, it's time. Let's join you at the director level for a little while.
Awesome.
So
Welcome.
We're so glad to have you. Can't wait to have an episode dedicated to a game of your choice.
Pokémon Ranger.
We're so looking forward to it.
The second one?
You can find us on our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, TikTok, YouTube. All of the links are in the show notes. Brittany, where can they find you if you would like them to find you online?
Find me in the Discord. I'm always up for a chat and always talking about Pokemon.
I love it.
Love it.
You can listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, please leave a kind rating and review. Our video episode was edited by our friend Dylan. Our audio episode was edited and produced by our friend Dan Willett. Join us next week as we play Jet Moto. Until then, I'm still Minion.
I'm still pronouncing things correctly.
I'm Crobat.
And who are you?
And I'm Kenny's other beard.
Yeah! And this has been New Game Plus.